Hi, today we will look at parts of speech. Now, this is a very big topic, so we will look at it as briefly as we can. We will look at each part of speech with examples and different types. And I would recommend watching some of my other videos to look at some of the aspects in more detail. So let's start with this pretty well-known poem, which you may have come across previously. We can see the different parts of speech introduced in it, as well as some examples. Let's look at it together. Every name is called a noun, as field and fountain, street and town. In place of noun, the pronoun stands, as he and she can clap their hands. The adjective describes a thing, like magic wand and bridal ring. The verb means action, something done, like read and write and jump and run. How things are done, the adverbs tell, as quickly, slowly, badly, well. The preposition shows relation, as in the street or at the station. Conjunctions join in many ways, sentences, words, or phrase and phrase. The interjection cries out, "Hark! I need an exclamation mark." Let's start with the noun. A noun is basically a person, place, thing, or idea. There are lots of different types of nouns. A common noun refers to things in general, like man, woman, road, park, town, shop. It's the general word for something rather than a specific person or place. A concrete noun is something we can see, touch, smell, taste, or hear. Essentially, anything that we can use one of our five senses to feel. For example, car, grass, aroma, sun. A proper noun is the name of a specific person, place, or thing, like Sam, Paris, Spain, the Times. We use a capital letter with a proper noun because it's a name. An abstract noun refers to ideas or emotions, concepts like love, hatred, courage, success, friendship. We can't physically touch any of these things. We can't see them, but we can feel the emotion. We can understand the idea. A collective noun refers to a group or collection of things or people, like gang, class, team. It's often a singular noun using a singular verb, but it refers to a lot of people or things in that concept. A compound noun is made of two or three words. For example, ice cream, snowboard, 5-year-old, football. It could be two words that are separate. It could be two words that are joined together to form one new word. It could be words that are hyphenated. A countable noun is one that you can count, as the name suggests, like football, car, shop, person, apple, book, song. You can count how many of each of these things we have. Uncountable nouns, we can't count them, like music, water, rice, sugar, accommodation. We can't say one music, two musics, or one rice, two rices. We can count the amount of something, like a liter of water, a bottle of water, a bowl of rice, but we can't count the noun itself. A gerund is a verb used as a noun. For example, swimming, dancing, playing football, or playing tennis. On to a pronoun. This is used instead of a noun, and we have quite a few different types of pronouns. A subject pronoun is used as the subject of the sentence. I, you, he, she, it, we, or they. The object pronoun is the object of the sentence. Me, you, him, her, it, us, them. Possessive pronouns show us if something belongs to someone. Mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, theirs. Demonstrative pronouns. There are 4 of them. This, that, these, those. For example, what's this? Okay, we're not asking, we're using this instead of the word. Interrogative pronouns are used for a question, like who, whom, which, what. A relative pronoun is used when we add extra information or an extra clause to a sentence using a pronoun like who, whom, which, or that. An indefinite pronoun is, for example, another, anyone, something, nobody, everyone, each, one, none, many. There are lots of these. I'm sure you can think of more examples. They are basically used when we're referring to one, some, many, or none of something. And a reflexive pronoun, myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, themselves. Moving on to adjectives. These are words that describe a noun. They could be descriptive, they could be a number, a colour, a nationality. Here are some examples of adjectives, of types of adjectives. There are some more, which we won't look at the moment. Possessive adjective goes with a noun, and it shows that something belongs to someone. My, your, his, her, its, our, their. Demonstrative adjectives. Again, this, that, these, those, like the pronouns, but this time they are used with a noun. So this jumper, for example. Articles, a, an, the. A and an are indefinite articles. The is the definite article. We have compound adjectives, which could be 2 words joined together to make one adjective, like bulletproof. They could be hyphenated with 2 or 3 words, like 6 foot long or broken down. A comparative, when we compare 2 things, for example, hotter, faster, healthier, more expensive, better, worse, or further. Or superlative, when we're comparing something to a group of others. For example, hottest, fastest, healthiest, most expensive, best, worst, furthest. Moving on to the verb. A verb is basically an action word, a doing word. There are different types of verbs. A lexical verb is the main verb in the sentence. Run, do, learn, teach, see, feel, have, be are some examples. Dynamic verbs are action verbs. Run, do, make, feel, have are just some examples. State verbs are non-action verbs, like have, be, like, understand, believe. They're not used in a continuous tense. So, for example, you can't say, I am understanding you. You either understand or you don't. You're in the state or you're not. You're not in the process. Now, we see have is both an action verb and a non-action verb. There are a few verbs that can be either, depending on their context. For example, to have lunch is an action, a dynamic verb, whereas have a sister is a state. Okay. An auxiliary verb, for example, be, do, have, and will. These verbs are like helping verbs which help the main verb show us what tense the verb is used in. Okay, a modal verb, sometimes called a modal auxiliary verb. These are verbs such as shall, should, will, would, can, could, may, might, must. They have different uses. Transitive verbs take an object. For example, see, watch, do, make, put, sell. You can't just say the word, the verb on its own. It needs to have an object with it. Intransitive verbs don't take an object, like sit, stand, jump, run. You don't need an object with them. Some verbs could take an object in some cases, or could be used without an object in other cases. Depending on the context, we can see if it is transitive or intransitive. Moving on to adverbs. They modify or describe a verb, adjective, or another adverb. There are different types of adverbs. For example, an adverb of time, like immediately, in half an hour, now, suddenly. They tell us when an action happens. An adverb of place, like here, there, everywhere, somewhere. They tell us where an action happens. Adverbs of manner tell us how an action happens, like slowly, bitterly, fast, hard, lazily. An adverb of degree, here are some examples: very, really, slightly, extremely, a lot, much, a bit, a little, incredibly. They can describe a verb. They could describe an adjective or another adverb. Adverbs of frequency tell us how often something happens, like often, never, always, sometimes, hardly ever, usually, every Wednesday, once a week. And comment adverbs, as the name suggests, makes a comment on the situation, like luckily, unfortunately, sadly, basically, obviously, apparently, eventually. Prepositions. These are little words that connect nouns or pronouns to verbs, adjectives, time or place. Essentially, they join the sentence together. We have some different examples like place, at, on, in, by. They tell us where something is. Direction, for example, above, down, in, near, past, inside, through, behind. There are loads more. We can have compound prepositions like according to, in front of, by means of, due to, in search of, on the point of. Lots of little compound prepositions where little words are joined together to form a preposition, but made of different words. And simple ones like of, with, after, throughout, within, considering, regarding, since. They're just one word. We can also have prepositional phrases, but we'll look at those in another video. And finally, an interjection. There are so many examples of these, and these basically show the emotion or feeling of the speaker. And as the poem suggests, they often use an exclamation mark most of the time. Here are some examples. You might not use an exclamation mark with all of these. For example, oh could be used with a comma at the beginning of a sentence, or well, I think that it could be used with a comma. But when they're showing emotion, we definitely need an exclamation mark. Let's have a look at this word. For example, running. Look at these 4 sentences. What part of speech is running in each of these 4 sentences? Is it the same part of speech or is it different? Let's see. In the first sentence, running is a verb. He is running a marathon today. Running is the lexical verb, the main verb. Is the auxiliary verb. In the second one, running is a popular form of exercise. Running here is a noun. It's actually a gerund, a verbal noun, but it's a noun nonetheless. In the third one, running is an adjective. It's describing the shoes. What kind of shoes are they? They are running shoes. And the last one is an adverb. He won the race 3 years running. So 3 years in a row. Okay, so one word can be used in different parts of speech. It all depends on the context. And to identify the part of speech, you need to look at the sentence as a whole and look at what the purpose of the word is in that sentence to determine the part of speech. So in this brief video, we've looked at the parts of speech very quickly. I would recommend that you look out for videos on certain aspects in more detail if you have questions on them. If you don't see them on my channel, just comment on any of my videos, request it, I'll get it up as soon as possible. Okay, and as always, thank you for watching.